Easy money sniper. Kevin Durant hits a clutch three at the end of a game in Utah for the Suns' first in-season tournament victory ever in the history of the franchise. Phoenix goes to Utah, is now 500 after winning 131-128. They now sit, Matthew, with a record of 6-6. Good game. Crazy game.
Yeah, beautiful.
No defense.
No defense. It's a make or miss league, Kevin Durant says, and he made a lot of fucking shots tonight. So 38 points for the dude. Big shots. When they come down at the end, they need a shot. I'm like, dude, they're only up by one. I'm like, here we go. Do I trust anybody to make a shot in this situation? And KD comes through, and the Suns tournament style win it. You know, just that court. I wanted to ask you really quick. Do you forget that it's the in-season tournament? Because I do the whole game. Even with the court painted and everything, I still forget it is. Am I just dumb?
I think I remember because of the court and because there's a big fucking trophy of it right in the middle of the
but I
court.
don't know. I think I'm like used to the courts now. So then I'm just like, it's just not entering my mind when I'm watching games. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one.
No, it comes and goes because, again, there's no weight to it. As you're watching this game, you're not sitting there analyzing it through the lens of the in-season tournament. You're analyzing it through the lens and the anxiety that comes with just a regular season game. A playoff game, is a playoff game because every possession feels like it could be the first or could be the last. Whereas this, you're like, oh, by the way, we've won an in-season tournament game. So I can understand where you're coming from that aspect, but I definitely know that is a tournament game because of the courts. That's why they did that, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it just doesn't work for some of us. Some of us hillbilly folks.
It's lost on you carnies, as they say. You carnies out there in the backwoods. People have no idea that season tournament. You were probably listening to it on the radio and hoping that John Bloom would remind you multiple times as he kicked it to Tim Kempton that perhaps it was the in-season tournament, but that's not the way it goes. So, but regardless of that fact, a very interesting Phoenix Suns game tonight as they play the first of two against the Utah Jazz. They played them tonight in their, quote unquote in-season tournament game, and then they play them again on Sunday. So a lot of things to break down on this edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. So thank you if you're joining along live. Trying to get this thing to work on Instagram Live, and I just don't think I think I swung and I missed again. One of these days, we're gonna stream this thing on the IG. All right,
okay.
We're finally gonna get there, but we're just not there yet because even though it says we're live, I don't think that we are live unless I go ready and go live. Oh, I clicked that on that. See if this actually works. I think it's gonna start. I think we're live on Instagram Live for the first time in the history of the Suns Jam Session podcast. I believe we are on Instagram Live. So if you're somebody who is an Instagram user, pop onto Instagram, see if we're live. Oh, yep, it says that we're live on Instagram right now.
Making history. The Suns make history, and we're making history tonight.
And we're making history right here on the Suns Jam Session podcast. So wherever you absorb this content, whether you're watching along on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch, and now on Instagram Live, we appreciate you taking the time out of your day to hang out with the Suns Jam Session podcast. If you're new to this podcast, my name is John. His name is Matthew. John and Matthew Jam. Suns Jam Session podcast. We go live after every single Phoenix Suns game, and then we post the audio later. So if you're an audio listener and you're listening to this tomorrow, if it's your Saturday, and you're mowing the lawn, you're raking the leaves, and you're putting up Christmas lights, and you're listening to Suns Jam Session podcast, I tip my cap to you, and Matthew blows you a kiss because we thank you for doing so. Plenty to talk about on this edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. So as we do, as tradition permits, we pop open some beers. I got a Coors Banquet beer. Shout out to my buddy on Twitter, Men Kenny. He was drinking Coors Banquet beers all night long. I'm like, you know what? Those just look so delicious. I'm going to have to pop one open right here, right now. And let's talk about this Suns victory over the Utah Jazz. is a victory for your Phoenix Suns. We pulled this one off. Go ahead, win the game 131-128 in Utah. Which brings me to my first question.
Oi, Matty. Mate, I've got to ask.
I've got to ask, and this is a rudimentary question. We're going to get into the deep basketball stuff here momentarily, but this was the in-season tournament. This is when teams are wearing their city edition jerseys. The Suns are wearing the LVA shirts. I got them on right now with Easy Money Sniper Kevin Durant. What'd you think of Utah's? You knew I was going to go there, right? You knew I was going to go.
As soon as the game started and I saw those, I knew this would be a question. What did I think of it? I think they're nice. There was a pic on Twitter when they first came out and they were at the store. They're like, I think this team wins the best city edition unis out there in the NBA. I don't think that's true. I think the Suns LVA is better. But I do like the 90s. I think it's hard to pull off. I mean, it's easy to pull off the 90s looks now for any team when they bring it back. It is a little different. The mountain is a little different, right? It kind of comes down, doesn't go back up. It kind of comes down around the curves of the hips of the players. So I still love it. I love the color scheme. I like the court, how I like that purple. I think it looks good. The whole thing looked good, even though the whole colored court didn't keep me updated on the in-season tournament for some reason. But I like what they do with those. It's better than what we have here on the scoreboard with the neon yellow and the black. It's a little bit better than that, right?
Yeah, that highlighter yellow Utah Jazz is kind of gross. The one thing that I would say would make it look a little bit better is if the Utah popped a little bit more, but it just doesn't. Maybe that should have been highlighter yellow, but just a random question I wanted to throw out there. Looking at every time. Looking at this game, obviously, again, Suns win 131-128. A lot of different things and metrics and levers being pulled by Frank Vogel in this game because of the Bradley Beal situation. I don't want to lead off with the Bradley Beal situation. I think that's something that we can talk about at the back end of the podcast, but I do want to talk a little bit. I mean, we have to start with the guy who sunk the shot, who looked unbelievably fantastic the entire time. That is Easy Money Sniper.
Who the heck are you?
I'm Kevin Durant. You know who I am. Y'all know who I am.
Did anybody see a sniper? Did anybody see anything?
I'm one of the best players to ever play the game.
Kevin Durant in this game, 38 points. He does so on 15 of 22 shooting. Efficient, 6 of 8 from beyond the arc. He has 9 assists. He has 9 rebounds. He only has the 1 turnover, and he only has 2 free throws, shooting his first free throw, Matthew, with just 51 seconds left in the game. Talk about what you saw from Kevin Durant tonight.
Well, when I first saw, it's his first free throw, I was like, well, what the heck, refs? Come on, we need to get, him to the line a little bit more. But tonight was kind of just finesse, just him hitting crazy shots from 3, wide open in the beginning, right? The corner threes here or there throughout the game. Crazy to see. Usually he has 3 guys, 2 guys all over him, but he had some wide open threes. He bailed out Booker, I feel like, in the third quarter. When Booker when he got blocked, he wasn't really the same player offensively. He did have the 15 assists, but shooting-wise, it just wasn't there. Something was a little off after. But KD was just like, here, just pass me the ball. Here, I'll just drain this for you. Then he gets the silent 9 rebounds and 9 assists, of course. That always just comes along with every Kevin Durant stat line. It's, again, a great night by him, right? But this was just like the finishing move by him this season. He finished the game off for the Suns. I don't think we've really seen that yet with him hitting a big shot like this tonight, because I feel like in the past you kind of felt like the Suns will lose this game, right? When I'm writing the game for Brightside, I have them winning. Entering the fourth quarter, everything's written out that they're going to win. But when it gets close to the fourth,
fulfill the narrative.
Yeah, when it gets close to the fourth quarter or to the end of the fourth quarter, and I see these tip balls underneath the basket where the Suns can't get them, or there's a foul called and it goes Utah's way. I'm like, this is not going to end right for the Suns. Up by 1, KD hits the big 3. I'm like, dude, this was obviously I feel like his best game as a Sun from the beginning to the end. There was a stretch there in the fourth quarter when he came back out, when Book was out and he was just in with the offense where it kind of fell flat a little bit, but then Book came back in and picked things up. Other than that, though, it was a great game by him, obviously, but I think the best game he's had as a Sun so far.
Yeah, the only other time I remember him hitting a shot like this is the one that we the highlight that we have in his drop when he hit that game winner against the Mavericks over
Yes.
and then
First
Luka
game, right?
Doncic. Yeah, it was his first or second
First
game.
home gamer. Okay, yeah.
It was, and I think it was actually away. It's actually second game and away. You're like first and home. Like no, it was
I'm the
second and
confused
away.
guy over
Come
here,
on,
though.
come
In-season
on.
tournament.
what's that thing? But again, to your point, seeing as per usual, the fanboy in me who loves Kevin Durant, seeing what he does tonight, the different ways in which he was scoring, and you're right, the spacing was ridiculous. I mean, he hasn't had that much space since he was standing all alone on the side watching a Drake concert, because outside of that, there's people just always around this guy. He's always talking to somebody or has defenders in his shorts trying to defend him. And due to the gravity of Devin Booker penetrating and popping, Kevin Durant's sitting out there. He's like, oh, not only does he have time to like get it and like look at the seams and take a step back, he's got time to line it up and just knock it down. And the last possession of the game that mattered, if you will, the one that was the dagger in the side of the Utah Jazz tonight, was a play where the Suns had something drawn up and it fell apart. And they had a 1-point lead, and it fell apart. And Devin Booker just kind of dished it out to KD. KD took a dribble up, and 2 feet behind the 3-point line, calmly knocked down the 3-pointer. He was doing. There was a play early in the game where he like double bumped John Collins right in the chest, and then did like a Dirk fadeaway. I mean, he didn't miss in this game. I'll talk about it a little bit later as I was doing the subreddit stakeout for this game. But I mean, even the Utah Jazz fans were just in awe of what KD was doing. In the first quarter, 4 for 4 from the field, including 2 of 2 from beyond the arc, 10 points. In the second quarter, 6 of 7 from the field, 14 points. He added another 2 3-pointers there. And so for the first half alone, he was 10 of 11 from the field. He had 24 points. He had 6 rebounds. He had 5 assists. Go into the third quarter, and he's only 2 of 5, a mundane 4 points. But that fourth quarter, 3-6 from the field, including 2 3-pointers, scores 10 points in the fourth. A lot of different ways and approaches to score. And there's definitely a drop-off at times when he sits down. I mean, when he first exit the game, boom, Jazz go on a 12-7 run. Exits the game again, boom, another run by the Jazz. He's so unbelievably important thus far to the Suns through their first 12 games.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things where you're like, okay, when Beal gets back, this is going to be just an explosion all over the place offensively. I think you saw in the first quarter how good this team could look with just those 2 guys hitting on all cylinders before the Devin Booker block or by Marketing. It was insane how open these guys were. And you had all the guys around them kind of filling the lanes, getting to the rim if they wanted to, hitting wide open shots. But it's just the ball movement, man. It's something that you always watch when it's just KD in there, how the offense is going to look without Booker in there, because with the 15 assists, I like how you keep talking about Booker before we even talk about Booker, but with the 15 assists, he's going to move the ball around, right? He's our point guard, obviously, but KD just has a hard time sometimes of moving the ball around, having guys cut, have them move, have him help him out when he's triple teamed or double teamed. You saw just for a little bit, a couple plays here or there, but they started moving again. And they were like, all right, we're doing what we're doing in the games before. We got to pick it back up. We got to help this guy out. And they did. But sometimes KD will be like a little bit selfish with the ball and get his shots. But why not, man? I mean, he was just abusing the smaller guys in the paint most of the game, especially early on in the game.
Yeah.
Anytime there was anybody on him that was tiny.
Yeah, Colin Sexton.
Go right over him. Yeah, Colin Sexton. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, they were navigating their switches. And the Utah Jazz are not what you would define as a good defensive team. Coming into this game, the Suns knew that. They have the most turnovers in the game. So, I mean, if you want to talk about a team that is frustrated with turnovers, look no further than the Utah Jazz. But you look at their offensive and defensive ratings, on a defensive standpoint, they give up the 26th most points per game in the league. A defensive rating, they're 28th out of 30. So this is a team that doesn't really have great defensive prowess and great defensive rotations. But unfortunately tonight, the same could be said for the Phoenix Suns, which brings me to probably everybody's favorite drop, and that's the Frank Vogel drop. Frank Vogel, this is a defensive team, right? I mean, the Phoenix Suns, it's Frank Vogel. And he's somebody who has taken two different teams to the promised land as it relates to being good on defense. And I understand the lack of chemistry and whatnot, but entering this game, the Suns are 16th in opposing points per game. The Suns are 17th in defensive rating. They're a team that's 26th in causing turnovers in this league. They're just not a great defensive team. What's going on? Like, this is a team we should have blown out. We gave up 128 points. It's like in the first quarter, the Suns scored 41 points against the Jazz, but in the same breath, they give up 38. They give up 37 in the second. You can't do that. You can't do that. What's up, Frankie Valley?
I don't know. I'll go a different way. I kind of like, I think they were picking on Booker in the second. I really think like, oh, here we go again, bringing up the dunk. But there was just something like he was just kind of like, fuck, like he was letting himself down in that second quarter. But they were picking on Booker a lot. It felt like they were getting everything they wanted against him, shooting every shot that was basically just going over his head was synced on the other side into the net. And that was like basically the whole second quarter. I think when you just go up against a team like this that's just hot, you can see like rotations. You know, they weren't closing out, I guess. But I'm gonna say it again. Kevin Durant says it's a make or miss league. When you're missing, it looks ugly. When you're making it, everything looks great, and you're blaming the defense. I didn't see too much tonight, and Jamsters, you probably say I'm wrong, to where it's just like this was bad defense. Of course, getting to the lane, that's always gonna be something. The back cuts, what other teams can do against us in the lane, getting there as quick as they can to right into the shot clock to really just, blow right by us. That happens all the time. The 3-point shot, though, they were just so hot from it. I mean, Keontae George he was on fire, and he was just hitting him right in Book's face in that quarter. And whatever you want to throw at him, it's fine. You can try to double team these guys if you want, but who are you going to double team, right? Like on this Utah Jazz team, like Clarkson, or who are you going to double team? So you kind of just stay home with it. Unless did you see them kind of just lagging a little bit on rotations? I didn't see it too much, but I just thought the Jazz got hot and they couldn't miss.
They did, but they weren't contested shots again. I think that's been my challenge thus far with the Phoenix Suns early this season is they do overcommit, and they're still trying to work out the communication on the back end defensive side. So you have the point of attack defender, and what he'll do is he'll stay on his guy, but the weak side defender will sag, and every time they sag, the opposing teams are taking advantage of it, and they have through the first 12 games of the season. And that's the challenge that the Suns are facing right now is just one, learning how to trust each other. Like if you have Eric Gordon and he has a defender who's going by him, for some reason, you're going to have on the backside Grayson Allen sagging off. And when he does that, he's leaving Jordan Clarkson and he's wide open. And it's like, you just can't do that. That's those are sets defensively and mentalities and methodologies that the Phoenix Suns had back when Booker was in his second and third year, and they were giving up 128 points and losing because they didn't have the offense to match that. So it's obviously a work in progress. The last thing, in my opinion, that's going to come around and be effective as this team learns to play together is always the defense, because that's the hardest thing. This is a scoring league. This is a league in which teams can get hot from beyond the arc like the Jazz did. The nice thing again for the Suns is the fact that the Jazz, blew their shot tonight, shot 44% from beyond the arc. 44%. They were 16 of 36 and shot 50% from the field. You take a look at Utah this season, they haven't played that good in one game, and the Suns still won. And that's huge. So obviously it's an area of concern because we consistently see lack of effective defensive rotations. But I do give Frank Vogel credit because he did decide at the back end of the third and the beginning of the fourth to run out a rotation that included Devin Booker, but he had Drew Eubanks, Nasir Little, Jordan Goodwin, and KBD out there. And that was more of a defensive clamp down kind of lineup. It's going to be really interesting to look at the numbers and see how they performed as a lineup. It's one I've bookmarked and I want to take a look at when the NBA puts out those statistics. But I think that could be a little wrinkle within the wrinkle relative to defense that we could see, because it did slow down that attack at the back end of the third and the beginning of the fourth. So Kevin Durant could spend some time on the bench, which is much needed.
Yeah, and also they hit some wide open threes too. I mean, some random threes. Little comes in, hits a three. Eubanks hits a three. Goodwin has two good looking shots, and he hits the second one. So that definitely helped that spurt too. But you can see like when you put in guys like Little, where they can just kind of come in, just like, oh, I get some minutes. All right, so I got to make the best as I can out of these minutes, and he definitely did. I think that there's a question really kind of floating around there. Well, maybe just in my head, but also I saw PH
Okay.
mentioned like the Marcus Smart thing, guys like that you might want to bring in defensively, just because the Okogie thing. Goodwin's still pretty solid, but him and Okogie are not like the duo we thought they would be, right?
Not yet.
Big defensive plays, not yet. So I don't know if you just you focus on a guy like Smart, focus on a better defender to bring in here, like Caruso or something, to just like tighten up, just to know like you have that lockdown dude that can really change a game when he comes in, and just, he can make a difference like a Caruso or Smart, because these other two guys are just not doing it. And if it's going to continue this way defensively, when we know we have Nurk at the center position and we have Eubanks, they're not the best, but it's like, what else could we do on the perimeter? So I don't know. A lot of questions, obviously. When you have a high-powered offense, like they always project to start the season, the Suns are just going to outscore every team. We're like, no, our defense will be fine. No, it's just like, well, I don't know. And even with Beal being back here, it wouldn't make a difference, I don't think, right now.
Well, and that brings us to Josh Okogie.
Hey, Joe. Where you going with that?
Shout out to some of the Jamsters who are watching along live. I see some good comments and some good conversation happening in there, and part of it is about Josh Okogie. Steve Holler, Okogie was negative 14 plus minus again. I mean, you take a look at the entire team, and the worst plus minus easily was Josh Okogie, and he only played in 13 minutes, Matthew. Huebo says, yeah, Okogie has played himself out of the lineup just about. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's getting close. I think you still have to put him in there. I mean, last game he hit some big threes. He plays some pretty good defense. But then again, this is what we're going to do all season long with him. I think it's just going to be one game after the other, every other game where he's going to have that really stellar defensive game where it might change a few things here or there to help his team, regain the lead, regain momentum. That would be him. And we expect that. But games like this, it just sticks out so bad. His bad games are just so much worse than his better games, right?
Yeah.
That's the worst part of watching this. And I think when he comes in, how many fouls? He had 2 fouls. But when he's trying to get in there, trying to make a play, and the ref calls a foul, and he's just like, damn, like that wasn't a foul. Like he kind of just, I feel like he just is like, well, I don't know what I can get away with in this game, right? He can't make a difference on other plays. And when he's in there with just KD and trying to help KD out, he's just falling underneath the basket. It just looks like a mess out there. This is difficult because Okogie is still one of my favorite players.
Me too.
And he kind of just, he fell off. And I want to see when the team is at full strength, I guess. But I think if you have Booker and KD in there, a top 3 duo or whatever in the NBA, whatever, I don't know. Well, they're up there, right? Obviously. I just think that he can definitely have those really great defensive games. We're like, yeah, solid player. At the beginning of the season, even announcers from the other teams are talking about Okogie and talking about how great he is. It's just not there right now. So I don't know what you think, man.
Yeah, the challenge with Okogie is he's playing himself out of these minutes with his lack of production. And I know that as a Suns fan, he's a fan favorite, but you have to think of the J.O. story, that at the front end of last season, he barely played because he couldn't shoot. He had the defensive mentality, but he really couldn't shoot. And the only reason that we got to know who Josh Okogie was because of injuries and opportunity. And he took advantage of those. Kudos to him. But ultimately, if you look at his production on a long enough timeline, he is a nonstop defender. I mean, his Instagram and Twitter handles call me nonstop. So he is a nonstop, high-energy guy, doesn't bring a lot of offense. And unfortunately for him, the defense has been sagging this year as well. He's having a hard time kind of finding his place. They put him on a different opposing fireball shooters, and he's not locking him down. He played on Jordan Clarkson, wasn't really doing a good job. The last game, God, who did they put him on last game? I think they put him on, maybe it was 2 games ago, because Anthony Edwards, I don't think he played much against Anthony Edwards. Who did we lose to 2 games ago?
Oh, Thunder.
The
right?
Thunder, yeah, he couldn't stop SGA. Couldn't. They brought him in specifically for that, and SGA just cooked him. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's
Yeah. Sorry,
kind
bro.
of the trend right now. And I like what Jam says, and this is a good point. Like, Okogie's going to be traded. Okogie, even though he's on a veteran minimum with a player option next year, he is somebody, due to the intangibles that he does possess, could be valuable if you throw him in a trade that includes like a Nasir Little or a Grayson Allen, one of those higher contracts. But if it is Nasir Little and Okogie, you're selling that to a team like, hey, you need a couple, hustle guys, defender guys, make this happen. In return, we get something, because this is the last year, because we're a second apron team. This is the last season that the Phoenix Suns can actually stack contracts and get something back. Next year, if we're second apron team, it has to be 1-for-1 in any trade. So again, not a great contract to trade, but a great mentality that he possesses. Melissa Moore says, I still have faith in Jo, and I do too. Again, this is one of those things where it's going to take some time, and it's going to take some production from him ultimately. And it was kind of rough again tonight.
Yeah, and I did text my nephew Hayden. He was like, Kogi twice, he's terrible. Yeah, and I did text him back and say, I think he's gonna be traded. And the only reason I say that, and I love Jo and I believe in him too, is because of Ishbia. Like, if this team's not hitting on all cylinders and he wants to make sure that the Lakers or any other contender they don't get Caruso or Marcus Smart, because Marcus Smart's probably gonna be moved. I know he's out 2 weeks or something with like an ankle thing, but he's upset. He doesn't want to be there in Memphis right now. Those two guys, Suns might want to go grab one of them, and Okogie might.
Yeah, they can't afford it. They can't afford it. It won't happen. I wrote a whole piece on Bright Side of the Sun because it's the first time that we've had an opportunity to kind of dissect what would it take to go get Alex Caruso, for example. The guy makes $9 million, $9.5 million. So it's not a horrible contract, but what are you giving up? We don't have a lot to give up. If you're trying with the second apron team, you have to get within 10% of that contract. You could do Grayson Allen for Caruso straight up. Question, would you do that?
Yes.
Yeah, see, I don't think I would. Maybe. If you want to stack contracts, you can't attach enough assets to those contracts to interest the Bulls, because the Bulls, if they're getting rid of Caruso, they're in blow it up mode. And there's no way that they're like, yeah, okay, we'll take Nasir Little, Josh Okogie, and three second-round picks 6 years from now. The Suns just don't have enough ammo in the gun when you take a look at what other teams could offer them for Caruso. Period. Exclamation point. That's just unfortunately the way it's going to be. So there's some great names out there that the Suns could potentially pursue, but we just don't have enough ammo in the gun to get one of those mid-level type players to Phoenix. If you want to trade a Nurkic, who's a $16 million deal, knowing that he got Drew Eubanks, that might be a different story, but now you're depleting some of your big depth. And I don't know if that's something that you necessarily want to do or that's a path you want to go down. Would you?
Yeah, so that's the thing. It would be like a Nurk involved in the trade, and I don't know how long you want to wait for Nurk to get. I mean, Nurk looked fine tonight. He had 4 turnovers or whatever, but I just think that if you're going to get someone like a Marcus Smart, a lockdown defender, and you have to throw Nurk in there, and you have Eubanks as your starter, and you can get somebody else as your backup center, maybe that's something you look at. But I just think you have to give it more time. Obviously, it's funny after when we're doing this, but just the defense is key for this team because we know what we have offensively. That's why these questions are going to come up. Games like this where you just know, like, if the other team, like the Jazz team, who's pretty stinky this year, they're not that good, and you just are scared that they're going to make every fucking bucket. That's not good, right? You want to make sure that this Suns team has that lockdown defender to make a difference, and they're out there. So it just depends what you want to give up. And the way Eubanks has looked and how much KD and Book love this guy, if that's a situation where he can start at the center position for the Suns, then you look to move Nurk for one of those two guys, I feel like. And it wouldn't be to the Bulls. It would be like to Memphis because of Steven Adams being out.
That's
it makes
true.
more sense, right?
Yeah,
and that's
you wouldn't
what
want to
Flex
trade
did
him.
mention. So all goes to him on this. It was just talked about. It wasn't confirmed, but he always says, he's like, I'm not going to talk about it if it really isn't up in the air and talked about. So I'm a big favor of that. I like Nurk, I do, but if you're going to get a guy like Marcus Smart back, I would do it.
Yeah, but I don't want to deplete our interior depth because I think that that's something that's valuable. And the way the Eubanks can be Eubanks because he has that shield that is Nurk, in my opinion. But I mean, we could always talk. You want to do Nurkic watch or do you want to do Eubanks? Your call.
Let's do Eubanks. I like the guy.
Oh, I clicked the wrong thing. I just changed the header. I didn't actually.
Big Crank Eubanks.
Crank that soul, now I mean you. Crank that soul, now I mean you. Crank that soul, now I mean you. Crank that soul, now what?
21 minutes, 11 points for Drew Eubanks. Hit another 3-pointer tonight. 5 for 5 from the field, 4 rebounds. He does, due to his production and his connectivity with both Booker and with Durant, he is somebody who can at least make you start to think, maybe could we get rid of Nurkic? That's what I had in my notes. But I will say this. If you don't love Drew Eubanks, fuck you.
Yes. Same ditto.
Twice.
I'm gonna ditto on that one. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so you're saying he kind of, has that shield of Nurk. For me, though, I think Eubanks can take that next step. I think he can be that guy who can be a starter. I think he's ready for it. He's better than the guys we had last year, and Jock and Bismack. If you get another big center or long defending center out there, whoever it is, Bismack was kind of thrown out there. He is playing for Memphis right now. So if that happens, then yes, I want Eubanks to start. I do like Nurk. I just think that Eubanks flows so much, and you can just tell those entry passes to him are so quick. And they did it to Nurk too, where they threw it over. He would run into the paint. They would just kind of throw it to him like a wide receiver in the back of the end zone, and he would just go tip it to himself and grab it. But Eubanks is the one that will finish those plays, draw contact. And Nurk, I'll talk about him a little bit what he did, but Eubanks is just a guy that the 3-point shot, nothing but net, just a swoosh. It looks so fucking great. It's crazy how good his 3-point shot looks, but it's not just that. I think it's just the confidence he has from Book and KD. And I still like Nurk. I do. But I'm just saying with the defender thing, we might need that. But Eubanks I think he's ready to step into that role. I just think it's too soon, obviously. Mm-hmm. But when the time comes, if it has to happen, push or shove, and the Suns have to make a trade for somebody else, I would trust Drew Eubanks as our starting center.
Yeah, it's still, in my opinion, still too early to tell, but the early returns have been fantastic for Drew Eubanks. And I knew he'd be somebody who would mesh well and that we would love as fans because he is kind of the complete package as a backup center. Moving him into the starting center role, you might get your wish because at some point Nurk will miss time. He just always does. And then we'll see what Drew Eubanks is as a starting center. And then we'll see what it does to our rotations. And if anybody wants to sit there and say, well, yeah, you got Eubanks and then Chimezie Metu can come in. Like, that's great. That's in theory. But I just don't know if that's sustainable over the long haul and a long period of time, because I think that, Nurk is what he is. And I think that if we're going to talk Nurk, we might as well Nurkic watch him. But you know what? I'm a Nurkalicious him tonight.
Nurkalicious definition make them boys go crazy.
Oh. He earned it tonight. 23 minutes played. And he scored 15 points, 7 of 7 from the free throw line. So he was forcing the issue at the rim. No Walker Kessler for the Jazz. So he takes advantage of that. He ends up going 4 of 7 from the field, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Did have the 4 turnovers, unfortunately. And I know that you wrote a piece about him that came out on Brightside this morning talking about how, like, hey, if he continues no turnovers, that's a good thing for him. Comes out, has 4 turnovers. So he read your piece. He's like, fuck you. He's like, I don't love Drew Eubanks, and that's so fuck him. But I do think that ultimately his role that makes him better than Drew Eubanks in this system is he's a better passer, and you're going to need that on a team that quote unquote doesn't have a point guard, which we'll talk about momentarily. But you need as many playmakers as possible. And I like what I saw from Nurkic tonight. I'm excited to see what we see from Nurkic again when we play the Jazz again on Sunday, because Walker Kessler once again won't be there. And I think that he put together a lot of good things on film that the Suns coaches, while they're hanging around in Utah drinking a bunch of near beer, they're a bunch of 3% beer up there. Like, well, we're not getting drunk, so we might as well drop some plays for Nurk.
You see that, like, those little passes I talked about to the entry passes that they threw to Eubanks. I feel like they're like, Nurk's like standing over in the corner. He's like, hey, like, you can do that to me too. Like, I can go grab him. And he did tonight. But the best part of the night has to be that fast break by him, right? KD gets the ball, pushes up to Nurk.
He just slows it the fuck down.
Kenyon George. Carry on George. My bad. I keep messing his name up.
Keontae.
Keon George. it's like he dropped his phone or whatever at the free throw line and just like he like had to pick it up, be like, all right, hold on, I gotta finish this play really quick. And he's like on the phone. It's just like the weirdest. I've never seen that before in my life. But yeah, sorry I butchered his name. But yeah, that play was a little brilliant from Nurkic. But he fits in there now. The 4 turnovers, yes. But I think with the offense looking the way it does, when you see like him, Booker, and KD kind of running just a 3-man game with the pick and rolls at the top of the key and stuff, it's nice to watch, dude. Like when it hits on all cylinders, it's very, very beautiful. He's definitely a filler at a point guard position for us too when Booker's out and it's just him and KD. So I don't know. I like his game a lot. I just think
with Nurk, some possessions he looks great. Others just not. And I guess at the end of the day, you get what you pay for because he's a $16 million a year center. Like that's what you get from a center in the NBA who's 16 mil. Like in the past, we would sit and we would take a look at what DeAndre Ayton was making. I don't know if you remember that guy, but we used to have a guy who played for the Phoenix Suns and his name was DeAndre Ayton and he was a max center. And so you would sit there and you'd look at his contract and then you'd compare that contract to people at the same position and you'd be like, well, hold on, he's not that good. He's not that good. He's not that good. If you go and you look at what Nurk is making, all right, and if you're just looking at like the average annual value, right, as it relates to centers in the league, he is the 12th highest paid center. These are the 3 guys who are paid more than him, and these are the 3 guys that are paid less than him, okay? 3 guys more than him. Right above him, Jakob Poeltl. Right above him, Nikolai Vucevic. Right above him, Jared Allen. Jared Allen makes about $2.5 million more a year than Jusuf Nurkic. Right below him, Zach Collins. Right below him, Onyeka Okongwu from Atlanta. And right below him, Jonas Valanciunas, Mitchell Robinson. So he's kind of right where he should be. Mm-hmm. And you're going to get – and every one of those guys, you're like, yeah, I like what this guy does, but meh. That's who he is. That's what he is going to be. And we're not going to ever sit here. We will sit here and talk about the great things that he does. Like it was a positive night tonight. And we'll talk about the bad things that he does. And you just don't get overly frustrated because he's not making a max money like he who now plays in Portland does.
Yeah, his defensive rating 2 out of the centers. I guess he's 6 right now. Before this game, he's 6.
Which isn't bad.
No, it's not bad. And then assists 2 per game. It's kind of crazy, man. He's 5th right now.
Yeah, but look at his points.
No, I know. But that's the
which
thing.
Which is okay. Like, that's
we don't want that, right? He's a better he's a better Saric. I think that's what he is.
I think that's very well said. I think he's an upgraded Saric, although Saric can hit the 3 a little bit more. He's been raking 3s up in Golden State this week. This guy.
Big Dick Booker.
I know it took me a long time to talk about him, but you mentioned him like 7 times already, so I thought I'd wait a little bit till we get to Big Dick Booker. But returns, plays 32 minutes, goes 7 of 15 from the field, including 2 of 3 from beyond the arc, and 8 of 10 from the free throw line. 24 points, 15 assists for Devin Armani Booker. A career high, 15 assists for Devin Booker. And did you see the cutoff shirt tonight, Matthew?
I did notice it. And
cutoff shirt and a headband. That's his look this year. It's fucking gangster.
Should his headband be the sleeve though from the cutoff shirt? Because that used to be a thing too. You cut off your sleeve and you wear it as a headband.
He should.
Yeah,
just fold it down.
Pretty sure he tried that. They're like, nah, you're not going to do that. But I just can't wait to go back to the gym and everyone's going to have their cutoff sleeves again because I don't see that anymore. But now it's going to be a thing here in Phoenix.
You know who always wears cutoff sleeves, right?
Hulk Hogan.
Me.
You do?
All the time. When I'm at home, I have like...
Oh, so I never see you in your rag clothes or anything like that. So
Yeah. I'm like Mac from It's Always Sunny. I'm always rocking.
I should have said Mac. Hanging up in the rafters, dude. We have to when Booker retires. Hang up in the rafters.
Hang up his cutoff tees.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Dude.
What'd you see from Devin Booker tonight, man?
I'm not even going to talk about that block shot because I already brought it up.
I know. Like, that's the worst part of it. What, Laurie Markkanen sending him back to...
That changed the momentum.
Camp?
That was huge.
It did.
It was not the same Booker for a while till the end of till the third quarter. He came back, but it doesn't matter. Like he didn't have a shot. He still had the 15 assists. I was actually worried Booker got hurt on that. Like he hurt his arm,
me
it
too.
looked pretty dangerous. And when he wasn't making a shot, even the layup towards the end of the half where he missed it point blank, it did not get fouled. I was like, something's off with his arm.
They called the foul though. It was nice.
They called the foul, but the guy didn't touch him, and he still missed it. I've never seen him miss a layup like that. So I was a little worried. The way that Booker kind of just finished this game off by, that stretch where he hit Eubanks and he hit Goodwin, and he also hit who else did he hit for the three in that one, the big spurt? It was 9 points in a row, dude. And
he hit Eubanks, right? Eubanks,
it was Eubanks, Goodwin, and then there was somebody else he hit. Was it Eric Gordon? Or I don't remember.
I think it was Eric Gordon.
Yeah, I said it earlier and I already forgot. So when he was doing that, I was like, okay, so the shots aren't going down. He's not going to force it. He's not the old Book where he's going to get his. He has beef with his team. So he wants to make sure that, he looks good out there after being a little disrespected earlier with the block. He wants to get his. No, he's going to set up his teammates and trust them. That's the one thing he earned this year, or did learn this year, is the trust. It's like, what can he improve on every year? He's trusting his teammates even more. And Eubanks talked about it before, and I love the guy Eubanks, right? I bring him up anytime I can to talk about him, and I'm going to right now. He brought up in the press conference a couple games ago that the stars on the team, he kind of said like they need to start sharing the ball more towards the end of the games. You saw that more from Booker and KD, but Booker continues to do that, and that's my favorite part of his game right now. But he also hit some deadly shots in the end as well in the fourth quarter, found himself again, and you can count on Book to do that. I don't see anybody else on this team stepping up to be a point guard other than Devin Booker. So if he doesn't want it, who cares? He's our point guard. 15 assists, dude. Fucking Steve Nash out there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic watch. And I want to tell everybody, remember playoff Booker last year? Like he's still here. Like that was his level up, and he's riding that out. 9 assists in the first half, which was a career high. And his assist to turnover ratio was 15-1 in this game. And that's what's important. He had 15 points or assists. He had 1 turnover.
Yeah.
So vital to the success of this team. Their last game, they had 9 turnovers as a team. That was their season low. They had 8 tonight. That's huge. And when Booker, that just shows you the stabilizing force that Devin Booker means there's more structure, there's more spacing, and there's more opportunities for people to be set up and score, because 15 assists does not happen unless your teammates are hitting their shots. It would have been 16 assists, but Kevin Durant missed a fucking layup. It was like the guy couldn't miss anything.
There.
He just was like, how the fuck did I miss that? It's like he froze. Yeah. He was buffering for like 10 seconds. He was buffering. But 15-1 on the assist to turnover ratio from Devin Booker. Again, elite basketball, and it's something that this team desperately needed. And he stepped up and performed in this game. Absolutely huge. Obviously, it's time to shift gears just a little bit.
She said you're not the only one, but you're the best, Bradley. Boom, boom.
The news came out today. Bradley Beal will be reevaluated in 3 weeks for a lower back strain. Frank Vogel said, listen, we're tired of doing the day-to-day thing, seeing if he's good, practicing and working him out, seeing how the back feels. We're going to give him 3 weeks off, which is going to essentially equate to, if you include tonight, 11 games off for Bradley Beal before he even gets reevaluated. What are your thoughts on Bradley Beal not being out there and with this injury?
I expected it. Just because, the way he was looking out there, it wasn't very healthy. You don't want him back too early, and it's kind of nice just to know, like, all right, we don't have to wait and see if this team's going to be together. Let's just push it back. It is totally a fucking Suns thing, right? All these things that happen, it's just a Suns thing. So I think we're just kind of numb to it by now, and we'll do with what we have. And what we have is Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, and that's fine. As long as those guys can stay healthy, we can pull away a few of these victories. I feel like more than that until he gets back, obviously. But the thing is like, I know he's going to be reevaluated. I just don't know how much it's going to help his back, dude. That's just how I feel. I feel like this thing is going to linger till the end of the season. Mm-hmm. Give him his rest. That's fine. But I don't think it's a cure. And that's fine. There's a lot of trade talks about, hey, we should trade him and stuff like that. And I mentioned it.
He's a no trade clause guy.
Yeah.
Talk about it all you want. It ain't fucking happening.
Yeah, I know you can't trade him. Obviously, I know that, but I'm just saying though, that's what's going to come out of the fans' mouths, and what you're gonna do with Bradley Beal right now is put him in the back seat.
Yep.
Forget about him. All right.
Yep.
Just forget about him. Go forward with this team. And who else we can trade? Who else do you want to trade? Just Bradley Beal, you can't right now.
I'll say this. I support the decision to just shut him down because emotionally as a fan, I just can't take it. The day-to-day, but is he going to play? Is the big three happening? And they're like, no. We're like, oh, okay, tomorrow. Is it happening? Oh, like there's like, listen, you're not going to see him for at least 3 weeks. Okay, cool. That's just the way it goes. And listen, everybody out there, take your laps, bitch. Like, moan. You take your laps. And for everybody who's, the Suns are going to be injured. Bradley Beal is a horrible acquisition. He's always injured. Go ahead, take your laps. Bitch and moan about it. But ultimately, you have to accept it and you have to move on, right? Ask yourself this, as whoever's listening or watching this, ask yourself this. Am I somebody who focuses on the problem or do I focus on the solution? Okay? The problem is he's injured and he's oft injured. Yeah, you can bitch and moan about the problem all day, or you can be the person who's like, listen, that's the problem. What's the solution? Well, the solution is 3 weeks rest. Okay, and know that every team is dealing with something. We just played the Jazz, right? Walker Kessler's out. Like, are you watching basketball this year? Every team has somebody out. Marcus Smart's out. John Morant's out for his own, due to what he does. Kristaps Porzingis is having issues in Boston. Like Steph Curry's going to be out for some time. Draymond Green is throwing himself out of games. But every team deals with this every year. Like, have you ever watched basketball? This happens every fucking year. Did you watch the Suns last year? Like, shit, we got Kevin Durant. He tweaked his ankle. Like, we just never saw him for the fucking. It's just the way it goes. So either sit around and cry about it. And I see a lot of people crying about it. And it's just like, okay, be solution based. That's all I got to say on Bradley Beal.
No, that's perfectly put. And the thing is like, as this motorcycle goes by,
was that Bradley Beal?
I don't know. Yeah, he's just riding off to the sunset, avoiding
all the riding motorcycles is bad for your lower back.
It's bad for your back, especially if you got a big mamacita on the back, dude. It's a little bad.
Big time.
Yeah, that's not good. But my point is, Bradley Beal injured. What are you gonna do?
Nothing.
That's it.
Bitch or move on. Okay, just move on. But it brings to like a question. What do you think about Frankie Valli starting Grayson and Gordon? It's the second consecutive game he's done so. In the past, he either had with Booker playing, it was Grayson Allen, and then it was Josh Okogie, or that was it, because Booker was only played a couple games. Interesting that he's going with both those guys. What do you think of that? And is it the right move?
Yeah, I think it's good. I like it, and the reason is I think when you have Allen playing with those two guys and Kevin Durant and Booker, the lane's just open. There's a lot of watching, and what we learned from Grayson Allen this year is that he can hit those little pockets, those little just little alleyways to the rim, and he excels there. He really does. Gordon, not so much. Gordon's going to be a better shooter. I feel like when he is starting, there's just something there. So leave him in the starting lineup. I don't know. Is there someone else that you would rather have in the spots? But I would say keep Grayson Allen for sure, because I think he does really well with the starters. Keep him there. He's so comfortable and he can do whatever he wants offensively, and he's just more explosive than we ever thought.
No, I think it's the right move because they're 2-0 since they've done it. So who am I to say? But it seems to be working. You have quality shooters out there. That's why the Suns in the last 2 games come out and they just boat race the competition, because you have Booker, you have Kevin Durant, you got Nurkic who can facilitate a little bit and score on the interior when you have guys who are undersized, and then you got 2 really good shooters around them. You don't have like one good shooter and then like Okogie who might hit one, or one good shooter and KBD who's more of a defensive guy. So I think that it's a quality move and a smart move by Frank Vogel. And then again, it's not necessarily who you start with, it's who you finish with. So I kind of like those rotations so far. I was hanging out on the subreddit stakeout, hanging out up in Utah, drinking some near beer tonight. And I was hanging out as Batman.
The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout.
Where is she?
He's back, huh?
Yes. I thought it was time to make a comeback up in Utah. So the first question I had to ask, besides, where is she, was, what are your thoughts on the Suns' new uniforms? Once again, it was positive. Somebody responded to my request on subreddit for the Jazz. And they said, pretty good, actually. I like their old 90s stuff a lot. John Collins looks like his dad was a preacher. Stop playing 15 feet away from Kevin fucking Durant. Our defense looks as energetic as a pre-game practice for an all-star game. That was a good one. That's a good observation on their defense. And then our defense, the Suns' defense sucked. Phoenix has plumbers on their bench. I think all we have to do is get a win is just stay within reach for the first 75% of the game, and their starters will be gassed by the fourth quarter. The world does not need a Willy Wonka origin story. What a great comment that is.
Are they talking about the court?
No, there's a Willy Wonka origin story fucking movie coming out. So somebody saw the commercial and they're like, the world doesn't need. It's such a great comment. I was dying laughing reading that one. Durant and Booker go out. Gordon lights it up. Durant comes back in, doesn't miss. What the fuck are you supposed to do? Somebody said, lose. I kind of understand why they say Durant is the best scorer of all time. This is him post Achilles tear as a grandpa. KD is playing and shooting sliders on 99. Like, what the fuck is happening? When is Eric Gordon finally going to retire? That dude has been hurting us and haunting us forever, it feels like. And the last comment, which I liked, it's liberating not to have to claim that Devin Booker is, fuck that up. It's liberating to not have to claim that Donovan is better than Book. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was your Subreddit Stakeout.
The Suns Jam Session Subreddit Stakeout.
Their fans,
dude.
their fans were like, here's what's interesting. Okay, think about Utah. This is, as we know, because we've been living on their subreddits fucking forever. They're always talking about how Donovan Mitchell was better than Booker, and just for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And there was like no Booker hate at all on a subreddit. And typically, when you're on a subreddit, like you get some Booker hate. It's just kind of, it comes with the territory. But I was really surprised there was no Booker hate in this one.
Yeah, I think they just kind of realized too, like their team's kind of stinky a little bit too. They don't really have that matchup like a Donovan Mitchell anymore to go head to head, so it doesn't really bother you as much. So maybe
Very
that's
true.
fine. Not sure.
I guess they got Keontae George now, who turned into fucking Dame Lillard in like the second quarter.
Someone said on Twitter it was like the Jordan, or what did they say? It was a Cam Reddish version 2.0, where like the Lakers, the last in season tournament game where Cam Reddish just went off, then Keon Johnson or George does it again.
Keontae. He was 3 of 6 from beyond the arc, and entering this game, he was 30%. Like he's not a good. He's a rookie, and of course he just kind of shows up and makes it happen. Adam Cooper, John, you sound like Jesse Ventura.
You do.
Brian says the Batman voice is kind of good. Where is she? I appreciate that. Someone says best stakeout yet. Okay, everyone likes the Batman stakeout.
Yeah,
when I go Batman.
The first one was awesome. It was amazing.
You should see. I have a different. Yeah,
I thought someone just walked in the room.
I'm looking up at like my up in my closet is all of my different outfits that I like to wear for Subreddit Stakeout. I don't think I have it up there. I do have a full on Batman mask that like goes over my head and everything. I think it would be hard to put on though in the small amount of time.
Yeah, you need like a smoke machine too, and dim the lights and stuff. Get really into it.
Where is she? Yeah, I'll get into it. Dim the lights, turn the lights down low. That's what dimming the lights means.
Jam star of the game.
Jamsters, if you're watching along live, let us know in the chat who your jam star of the game is. If you're watching on Instagram Live, hey, welcome aboard. It's awesome. We're finally there. We made it. If you're not following us on Instagram, we're at Suns Jam. We've been there for a long, long time. We just finally figured out how to stream to it. Actually Googled it one day. I was like, hey, fucking about time. Why not? Matthew, I think it's my turn to go first for Jam Star of the Game. And I think it's a no-brainer. It's the man who scored 38 points on 22 total shots and hit a dagger 3. He went 6 of 8 from beyond the arc. And I will say, I won money tonight on him. And that is Kevin fucking Durant. He once again gets my Jam Star of the Game. Taking a look at my notes here, this is the 4th time I've given it to KD. What about you? What do you think?
Let me give it to KD too. It's a little disappointing the perfect game didn't keep up. You know, I know Chris Paul did that once, right, in the playoffs. That would have been great, right? KD not missing, but you know, he takes too many shots for that, and his shots sometimes are deep 3, triple covered, double covered, whatever. So he's gonna miss one or a few. So
one or 4,
1 or 4, or what did he miss? Actually, 7. Yeah, 7 total.
So
6 from 8 from 3, dude. Like
that's
unreal. It's insane. And like you said, like you always say, it's just so much fun to watch him on your team.
It really is. It's so much fun. It's just he's a run killer. It's another thing that I had in my notes. Is he's a run killer. Like the Jazz would put up 6 points, and KD would just come down and just like sink a shot, like 17-footer, and you're just like, it's so nice. Taking a look at what some of the Jamsters are saying in the chat, you have Harry Pat Phoenix, KD, Francisco C, KD, CL Oracle, KD is the Jamstar, AJW, KD, Scheinbach, KD, Coda Kid, KD, Francisco C again, Durantula, Michael Kolb, one of the best KD games he's ever seen. All right, KD tonight, but Booker, damn, from Sunsphere 83. Fumar El Oso, KD. Scheinbach, KD pissing in the defender's face at the 3 for the 3.
Seriously, it's right up there, right?
That was fantastic. Jason Sanchez, K. Diddy. Renzo gives it to Durantula. David Ray gives it to KD. Lindsay Jam says Lissy wants to give it to Jock. We are getting a little love for Drew Eubanks, but it's Rez Abides, I think, KD, and Gary King.
It's kind of diabetes to have.
It's easy money sniper, and Kip gives it to the KDB block. So yeah, KDB had a big block
game
at the end of the game. You're gonna have to change the graphic below us and take Beal out of it.
Why?
I don't know.
You don't think he'll earn a Jam Star this year?
He's not on the team, man. He's not on the team. Any other notes that you have? I know that you were writing the recap for Bright Side of the Sun, so you might not have been taking notes simultaneously. But if you did, what do you got?
Extra notes. Just like KBD is definitely he's feeling himself offensively. I think there's a spurt there. I think he scored like 5 straight points or so. Like he was really feeling himself in the paint, adjusting to the fouls, drawing the fouls, and really having a wide open look at the rim and just taking his time, looking bookish a little bit, just taking his time. I think that's one thing that's really sticking out. It's under the radar, dude, because like when these guys come out, there's a stretch where there's no Book, no KD. That's when he kind of shines, and that was big for him, big for his confidence. I just think that this whole bench unit, all the role players right now, they've been consistent 2 games in a row, and it doesn't have to be every player, but there's always guys that spurts here or there that really step up. So you saw it again tonight.
Yeah, KBD, the only negative that he had is he got called for some bullshit fouls, man. Like he had 3 fouls early, and they were all bullshit. They could have gone either way.
He was arguing like it's out of bounds our way. He's like, wait, it's a foul? Wait,
yeah. He's like,
what are you talking about, Willis?
Yeah. What are you talking about, Willis? Another guy who we don't get to play his drop pretty often, so I'm gonna play it.
Nasty Nas, what square dance with me?
Sear Little provided playing 11 tonight, 2 of 3 from the field, 1 of 2 from beyond the arc, a rebound and assist, only 5 points. I thought they were productive minutes, and the 3 that he hit was big for the Phoenix in that stretch, because that was a stretch where I believe KD had gone to sit down. It was that Booker lineup, and you just need some guys to feed off Devin Booker, and if he can hit an occasional 3 like that, I'm all for it. So I thought those were some good minutes as well.
Oh, hell yeah. It's good to see him out there. You want to see more of him. And I think we did mention
Yes.
too, like you'll start to see a little bit more of him coming into the lineup because Frank Vogel wants to see these guys, play 5 or 6 games together and then kind of maybe implement a little other guys in there, just a little bit. But you saw it tonight, and I think you'll see more and more of him, I think, because they're good minutes. It's kind of like KBD. He's starting to like pile up those good minutes you need from him. Little, I can see the same thing happening.
Yeah, I can as well because he's got that length. And again, if he can become a better off-ball defender, I think he really provides some value for this team. So we'll see, and we'll see the Suns again playing against the Jazz. This will be on Sunday, 6 p.m. Arizona time. I would preview the matchup, but we just played this team. There's nothing I can really preview. I'm like, all right, so let me tell you about this Keon George. K. George, I don't know his name. George, just razzing you a little bit. Who wins this game, Matthew?
I think the Suns win again. I think they do.
There
was some unfinished business tonight. Like it's like the Suns obviously went down to the wire, but those runs the Suns went on, I think they'll finish it off tomorrow night or Sunday, and they'll make it an easier win.
I think that there's a lot of things that Frank Vogel can sit and look to and say, hey, we need to play better defense. The jam session guys were fucking riding my nuts on this. I'm supposed to be a defensive coach. Void has started talking about how we're bad defensive rating. We're in the middle of the pack. We're in the middle of the pack defensively right now. This team needs to step up a little bit. We are 12 games in, and I know that we've been missing Booker at times and Beal at times, but the rest of the rotations have, for the most part, been pretty solid. Those guys need to start developing some defensive chemistry. I did see Yusuf Nurkic communicate on defense a couple times, moving defenders to where they should be in front of him to better suit him. That's big stuff for the Phoenix Suns. So hopefully with this kind of baseball style, we're staying in your town back to back. Poor Suns, though. They got to go to like the fucking lamest city to go. No offense to everyone from Utah, but offense. They have to go to like the lamest city to do a back-to-back. They're like, dude, they can't even like enjoy Saturday night in Utah.
It keeps them out of trouble unless they're in the horses
Fair.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
Drew Eubanks is fucked. He's gonna be out there just riding horses and shit off into the
I guess
sunset.
his animal is a horse. He definitely looks like a horse. I'm not saying it's not offensive. Like I look like a turtle. I forget what you look like.
No, chipmunk.
Yeah, like everyone has their animal.
Kelly Oubre looks like a horse.
Animal. Yes, he does. But Eubanks, I guess.
I meant Olenek.
Oh,
Olenek has got a horse face. Anyways,
he's too beautiful. All right.
He's too beautiful. On that note, Jamsters, again, thanks for hanging out with us wherever you're watching this, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, or Instagram now. We appreciate it. Hit a thumbs up, subscribe, do whatever you want. I don't care. If you're watching us, we appreciate it. Bar none. The best way to support the podcast is simply by watching us. So we'll be coming to you live Sunday night after the Suns beat the Jazz, hopefully for the second consecutive time, and get over that hump. We'd be 7-6 if we can beat them, get over 500, and then start rolling some games together. We play Portland on Tuesday, followed by the Warriors on Wednesday, both at home, and then we play Memphis on Friday at like 2:30 in the afternoon on Black Friday. So on that note, Jamsters, that's all I gotta say. Matthew, do you want to mispronounce Keontae George's name last one time, or you just want to?
No, I just want to say, go home and love your damn horses.
You.